for the small felicitation. So, sir, please start us. So, Dr. Navin Das, Dr. Niranjan Sen, Professor Dr. Shantanu Roy, Dean Academics, Professor Dr. Sushanta Kumar Mandal, please join us. Respected Dean Academics, sir. Dean Academics,
Professor Sushant Kumar Mandal, sir.
respected
Respected Pro VC, Dr. Dipanka Bhattacharya, sir. We extend our felicitation ceremonies that
Honorable
Honorable
Vice
Vice
Chancellor
Chancellor Adamas University.
for the
For the
felicitation,
felicitation, I invite
Dean
Dean
Professor
Professor
Dr.
Dr.
Shantanu
Shantanu
Roy
Roy
to
to
present
present
him
him
the
the
bouquet
bouquet
and
and
memento.
memento.
Sorry, Dr. Shantanu Roy will felicitate the person. Okay, so we will
We will
first
first
start with
start with
lamp
lamp
lighting.
lighting.
So for
For
lamp
lamp
lighting,
lighting,
we have
we have
10
10
respected dignitaries over the
over the
dais.
dais.
So we welcome
Welcome
over for
over
the
for
lamp
the lamp
lighting.
lighting.
Such a good mission, Acharya. Please proceed demonstrably. I fold my hands before the light that brings prosperity, auspiciousness, good health, abundance of wealth, and destruction.
Destruction of enemy's intellect.
This flame burns perpetually to enlighten all individuals with the knowledge.
The lamp lighting has surely instilled the place with positive vibes. Let us hope that the brightness of education overcomes the darkness of divisions, injustice, and aggression in society and leads us to growth, equality, and liberty.
Now I invite Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Naveen Das, Adamas University, for the inaugural address.
So as we planned, before this lamp lighting, I was announcing about the felicitation. So I am extending my first warm welcome to Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Naveen Das. I invite Dean School of Business, Professor Dr. Shantanu Roy, to present him the bouquet and the memento. Please, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again, sir. We have our guest of honor, Professor Dr. Nilanjan Sen. To extend our warm welcome, I invite Professor Emeritus Dr. Ajitava Rai Chaudhary to present him the memento and bouquet, sir. Over here. Please applause. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Next in our guest, we want to felicitate respected Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Dipankar Bhattacharya. To do this honor, I invite Dr. Indranil Bose, sir, to present him the bouquet and the memento. Thank you, sirs. And last but not the least, we have our guest, respected Dean Academics, Professor Dr. Sushanta Kumar Mandal. Please, sir. For this felicitation, I invite CS Mr. Ankit Singh to present him the memento and bouquet, please. We want to felicitate Professor Dr. Shantanu Roy, Dean School of Business, and I again invite Dr. Indranil Bose, sir, for the honor. Please, sir, once again. Thank you, sirs, and respected dignitaries once again. I am assisted with my team here, Ananya, Debraj, and Shreya. To take this proceeding further, I invite them on the dais. Please continue.
Thank you, sir, for this opportunity. My name is Debraj.
And I am Anurna.
A very good morning to all the respected dignitaries, chief guest of honor, respected teachers, and all the participants. Today, we have industrial experts, professionals, and foreign delegates from diverse fields joining this international conference on creativity, innovation, growth, and sustainability 2023. We welcome everyone, saying Atiti Devo Bhava, which signifies the guests are equivalent to God. This Indian tradition reflects the rich cultural heritage and warm hospitality of the people of India. All the participants come together here to discuss on various contributions to business, innovation, and sustainability. We hope to add valuable contributions through these 2 days of conference sessions to academia as well as for industry.
With that, now I invite Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Naveen Das, Adamas University, for the inaugural address.
Would you like to take them on? Yes, yes. Thanks.
They say that a little bit of clumsiness signifies that we are still an academic institution and we're doing pretty well. You have seen the clumsiness in the way we did last minute changes. More people were expected to be on the dais today, but unfortunately, one or two of them dropped out at the last moment. Dignitaries on the dais, most importantly, Professor Jaideep Sen, Nilanjan Sen, Nilanjan Sen, a professor par excellence who has built institutions. I was exchanging notes with him, and the stories that he has about the institutions that he has built around the world is marvelous. The stories are marvelous. There is so much that we have to learn from him. Thank you very much, sir, for your gracious presence here today amongst us. It really gives us an international hue to this conference with your presence. My dear colleagues from the business school who have worked pretty hard to ensure that we have this day fructified. My colleagues from other schools who had taken time off to come and grace this occasion. I'm so thankful to all of you. My dear colleagues and my dear students. I would not like to belabor long on the need for such a conference. I'm sure over the next 2 days, all of you who are going to participate wholeheartedly will come to know that there is a connect between these 4 important words: creativity, innovation, growth, and sustainability. And in my mind, this connect is our own doing. Ever since the Industrial Revolution, somewhere in the middle of the 18th century, in our urge of humankind to increase the wealth of nations, some nations, they have taken pains at times for conquest, wars, famines, and deaths. The biblical 4 horsemen, I'm sure many of you are aware of. And the price that we are still paying through concerted efforts in undoing many of those wrongs that have been done. I know I'm using broad paintbrush to paint everything negative, but think about it. The concerted effort of the colonists, the imperialists, the people who had the ambition to see an imperialist hegemony throughout the world, the utter disgust that they showed for local traditions, local fooding, local clothing, actually is the reason for the lack of sustainability in what we saw as industrial revolution, followed quickly with manufacturing and other service industries or whatever, one after the other, including the IT, artificial intelligence. ChatGPT is saying that you don't have to worry at all about thinking. We will do your thinking. God save humanity. And quickly we take control of this in our own hands, in the human hands, with all the foibles that you have seen in the beginning of this session. This is human. If we are human, we must be alert And we must accept that there will be a little bit of foibles in whatever we do. We are not machines. Ensuring or working hard to ensure that we start looking, we start feeling, we start working like machines, and machines do the human thinking. What an irony. The conference, these 2 days of conference, to my mind, will be a reminder to go back to the basics, let humans do the thinking, and let machines do their part. And when we think as humans, we should also realize that whatever we have done in the name of development also had repercussions. Unfortunately, the initial agrarian economies, followed by the mechanistic or the mechanical economies, today the wrongs of these two phases of development are for all of us to suffer. The machines were built, and the people who built machines, they gave smoke. Only the local people suffered. Today, when there is a hole in the ozone layer, the whole world is suffering. When there is deforestation, the whole world is suffering. There are places where people are getting rains which they had never got in the last 200 years. Remember, the flora and fauna, people, human beings around, they were all used to that climate. We are talking about climate change, but actually we are actually talking about the pace of climate change. Climate has always been changing over millennia. It is the pace of climate change which is baffling us. It is the pace of the world changes that are happening in front of our eyes. Look at the way humans have turned inhuman. Look at the way how we have become apathetic towards poverty, towards corruption. We have just accepted many of these things. These are evils that we as professionals, irrespective of the field that we come from, whether it is management, whether it is business, whether it is economics, whether it is liberal arts, whether it is media, whether it is law, each one of us, we have a responsibility to ensure that we get back the good world that we have left behind. I think with that note, I would hope and I would pray that these 2 days would be fruitful in exchanging of ideas. Let there be meetings of minds, and possibly at the end of these 2 days, we will come up with at least a few more questions to ask ourselves, and hopefully at least a few answers. Thank you very much, and once again, welcome to this international conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that was very visionary and encouraging for all of us. You're always an inspiration.
Now, I would like to invite today's guest of honor, Professor Dr. Nilanjan Sen, to address the gathering and share some of his visionary thoughts. Over to you, sir.
I can use this.
Hello.
So today we have with us our guest of honor, Professor Dr. Nilanjan Sen, Dean, School of Business, State University of New York. Thank you, sir.
great to see all of you here. It's been a wonderful visit so far. I've been talking to the leadership here. I'm very thankful for the invitation. I'm certainly grateful to Professor Roy Choudhury for the invitation. You can't say no ever to Professor Roy Choudhury, who happens to be my mentor, friend, philosopher, guide. So whatever I am here today, it goes a lot way, credit goes to him. So thank you for the invitation. What a beautiful campus. I mean, I was walking around, I've been to a lot of campuses all over the world, but this has certainly a huge potential to start competing with them. Certainly it feels to be a campus where the creativity and innovation might be starting to happen. So, which happens to be the topic here today. When we are looking at the topic, it is a topic which is on top of everybody's mind. Frankly, if you ask all the CEOs of the world in a particular survey that what keeps you awake, they didn't talk about stock prices. They didn't really care about earnings, or even they didn't spell it out. They didn't mention growth, although it wasn't important. The number one and number two things they were talking about, number one is innovation, and they added innovation/disruption. Because in their mind, either you innovate and become the disruptor, or somebody innovates and disrupts your journey. So they're all scared about that. And obviously, you have seen the pace of disruption with technology and everything has really picked up the pace in the last 15 to 20 years. And every day we are getting a new version, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's something happening in the business processing. It's a very interesting stage to say. I mean, what we have seen in the last 20 years, probably years of generation haven't seen that in such a short time. So it's there. If you look at the senior leadership of the population in any country, they will only focus about growth. Their yardstick is GDP per capita. They need to grow, and that's the measure by which they judge whether they're successful or not. So one after another, we talk about innovation, entrepreneurship, growth, because it is there on top of everybody's mind. But just to begin there, we need to be careful about saying, oftentimes we use the word creativity and innovation interchangeably. But they're not, right? If you think about it, innovation is a state of mind, a creativity of the mind, which has a tremendous scope, but it might just be a natural experiment that's happening in your mind. But it's still creativity. You're doing an experiment in your mind, you're thinking about it, and a lot of this can come through, but may not be realized later on. Innovation, if you think about, at least the common way we approach it, is that you're doing a change, you're doing an intervention in an ongoing stable system. So there is a system which is ongoing, not perfect, evolving, dynamic, but you're trying to make some changes because you're anticipating some what we call unmet or even unarticulated need on the part of the stakeholders, either the customers, either the suppliers, either the technology side. You're anticipating that, or you know that there's unmet need. Why do we also say unanticipated? Well, as Steve Jobs said, no one knew they needed an iPhone before he thought about the ecosystem. So you're anticipating. It's not even there right now. So as a result, what we are saying is that at the front end, you got to have the creativity, but you need a system to massage that creativity, to garner it, to nurture it, so that it can lead to innovation. So we need to be clear that that's where we are thinking about it, that there can be tremendous creative force out there, but to galvanize it and make it into innovation is a separate additional ballgame. So now we sort of look at the innovation that way. Let's look at what are the needs that we need to address right now. Because we talked about that we are anticipating a need, we're anticipating a challenge, improving something. So what are the challenges? Because as anyone, whether it's a technology guy, whether it's a customer success guy, whether it's an investor, whether it's a social engineering guy, we need to know what are the main challenges. We need to agree on that. So I see a lot of you are doing your program right now, you need to think about, why did I join this program? Whether it's econ, whether it's a MBA, whether it's undergraduate bachelor's. Yes, there is a simple answer to that, that I need to get a career out of it. No doubt about it. That's already there. Okay. But then you had choices. You had choices about career, you choices about everything, and at the end of it, you're looking at life in general, just not the career. So when you put in on that particular human hat on yourself, in your decision making, the question comes, what are the main challenges? Now, whether we will agree or not, we don't know. Next one. This one here. So globally, I think we are talking about right now, these are the major issues that is facing everyone. Doesn't matter which part of the world where we are living. One is an inequality. It's tremendous. I mean, yesterday I was looking at some data about 5 countries controls 50% of the global GDP. I shouldn't use the word control. They have 50% of the GDP. If you move it to 10, it's become 66%. You move it to 25, is 84%. That's a lot. So remaining 167 countries or something like that gets 16% of the total GDP, total production, total value. Now think about it. US said, well, why do I care? That's globally. I happen to be one of the top 5 countries, which in terms of GDP, I'm out there. Well, we'll look at the per capita distribution and inequality within the country. Whether it's US, whether here, it doesn't matter. In US, I know 20% of the population controls 80% of the asset. If the asset income distribution is skewed, we all know the income distribution will remain skewed for a long time to come. Next one is the climate crisis. I know you all, the students out there, we know the millenniums and the Generation Zs have bought into it, but problem is us, the baby boomers. Still, there are a lot of people out there don't believe in this. Okay, when you find a 13-year or 15-year-old Swedish girl taking the leadership for climate control, we know that our generation have failed, not your generation. The hope is in with your generation, but that's a challenge. Not won't be easy to solve, but need to be addressed. Third is the trust. And it's a huge problem. One survey after another, government, institutions, and then finally the business. They're competing with each other who has a little bit of higher trust, but all of them are all-time low across the world. I'm not picking any country. And that has tremendous implication that will lead to populist leader, because we don't trust the institution. Okay. The last one is happening equally because people have realized is that economic growth per capita, however you put it, is not the only measure of life. Longevity has come in because the world is aging. You've got now 8 billion population. Some of the countries are aging faster. We happen to be the youngest population, one of the youngest population in the country with a median age of 27. But because we have 1.3 billion, even if you take a small percentage of that is elderly population, that's large. Okay. So longevity is there, but most important than longevity is the well-being. So are we have a sense of well-being no matter what we do, no matter what's our profession, no matter what stage of our life we are? So that's becoming a huge issue. You might say my basic economic needs are already being met, therefore we can afford to think about it. Yes, but I think we should think about it from the very beginning. So those are the challenges. Now let's see what the business schools are doing about it, right? About all of these topics, growth, innovation, productivity, everything like that. So here I've listed the traditional thing that all the business schools are talking about, whether it's here, whether it's in globally, wherever we are looking at. They all talk about curriculum first. Oh, we need to do STEM curriculum. Of course, we need to do STEM curriculum with technology playing a bigger role in every aspect of our life, every business decision, every business processes. We need to understand technology. We don't have to be technologists as a business leader, but we need to understand the implication of that in designing processes, products, and understanding the needs of the customer. That's there. Number two, we talk about experiential learning, because in the business schools, at times we were critical about them because we moved away and we talked about theory without being really relating. We are a professional school, so we need to relate it to what's happening in the real world. So the experiential ranking comes in here. Innovation, entrepreneurship. Now DEI is related to the inequality. Okay, because everybody needs to have a place in the table, but we're not having that. And it has a huge cost, because if you don't capture the diversity of thought, your outcome is compromised. Then we talk about external engagement, again, relationship. Why? Again, business school talk about the self-interest, because increasingly all over the world, government wishes to play very much a role in higher education is kind of stepping back. I'll tell you an example of my university, which has got the system, which has got 430,000 students. At one point, the budget was 74% was from the government. Now it's in the teens. It's still a state university. So what do? We need to go out, engage, convince the market that what we are producing here, what we are doing here, where there's research, where there's talent, is valuable to the industry, so they need to share the cost. Okay? We go out to the alums of the world. They are successful alums. They're putting money back in. That is helping us. So that's our external engagement. Enrollment is a challenge in not here, but in a lot of other parts of all, the enrollment is a challenge. And then we are finally sold in this reputation and ranking, right? Every one of us talk about what's our FT ranking, what's our economist ranking or local ranking, and we make decision by the ranking. Now, take a look at the criteria for the ranking. The major criteria for these rankings are essentially talking about salary and salary growth. What percentage of your salary you're making after 3 years and all of that. And then accreditation, because accreditation is basically a body that we have come up with, which is a senior leadership across the world. In business world is what we call AACSB or EFMD or Business Graduate Association, which is formerly used to call AMBA. And we'll all talk about triple count if you can grade those and all of that. So we talk about accreditation. So that's what the business school is doing. You don't see explicit mention of here anything of those four. Of course, we touch upon them. But the curriculum or and again, this is not you and me and our school or their school. I'm talking about the general industry of higher education. So let's look at the accreditation body. They are starting to be a little forward-looking, and hopefully that's where we are going. The AACSB accreditation, which is done, there are like 800 all over the world, 400 in US, increasingly more and more Indian schools are starting to get their accreditation. They have a new standard, which is what we call the 2020 standard. So any of us going up for renewal or reaccreditation or new accreditation will follow. There's a fundamental shift in that accreditation center. I'm happy about it. We are all happy about it, because it essentially talks about impact versus outcome. All these years we are talking about how much research are we producing, how much our students are we graduating, right? How much of our qualified faculties that we have in our, it's sort of the quality of the input driven. A certain percentage of the classes should be taught by doctorally qualified faculty and all. Now they're saying, oh, those are all important, don't get me wrong. But what's the meaning of the publications? The 10 papers that has been produced by the publication, how is it affecting the society? How is it affecting the business community? The graduates we have done just don't tell me what salaries they're doing or what percentage got a job, but what are they doing 3 years after their graduation? What impact they're having in the society? Okay, so they're going to start this question, and we have to capture and document them to sort of go forward. They want to capture the impact in its dimension. Why? You look at it, it kind of tallies up to what we were talking about the earlier challenges. We have got social mobility. Well, we talk about that only when you have inequality, right? We wouldn't be talking about it, everybody was well placed in a certain way. We talk about research relevance, which is spread your research, impactful research, relevant research. Particularly, remember, we are professional school. So we work with the people, we work with the industry, just like law school, just like medical school. So we have a necessity for the impact. And then social justice, again, which is related to diversity. And we are one of the most diverse countries in the world, by the way. We talk, the rest of the world is talking diversity, but we live and grow and we breathe diversity in this world. So if anything, we should be teaching the rest of the world what we can do with diversity. But those are the impacts that they're looking for. Now, a quick word about well-being. Well-being is not about happiness, not the regular one. So there was an interesting study, Harvard study, which has been going for 80, 90 years. So I think, I believe in 1938 or something like that, they started with a group of Harvard graduates and a group of young teen who are looking in the city area of Boston. And they have tracked them. They have tracked them all these years, their generation, their next generation. Track them means interviews continuously every 2 years. Blood test, medical history, obviously with protected confidentiality, everything like that. And they're trying to answer that, what makes a good well-being for these guys? Not by survey. Because it's not a happiness index that are you feeling happy or not. It's well-being, where they're doing good, where their health was doing good, where they're feeling good about it. And you recorded all of that, and then the interesting part, the result came out. Yes, doing exercise and whatever, good food, healthy food and everything is important, but single most important factor that predicted well-being and longevity was relationship. If you're connected to the society, if you're connected to your family, if you're connected to a particular cause, you live longer, you live happier. Happier means the well-being, and you're more effective. Healthier, happier, longer. Same thing, another implies, there's an island basically going back to in Japan, Okinawa. The average age there is 10 years older than, longevity is 10 years older than anybody in the Western world, which typically has a higher longevity. 10 years of extra life, but healthy life. 10 years of extra life with your suffering doesn't make any sense. Lowest incidence of cancer, lowest incidence of heart attack, lowest incidence of everything. And when you started looking at it, a lot of studies of what's going on here. Is it the fish? Because they have very much diet with fish and vegetable. Maybe part of it, but by that account, all the Bengalis here should be living much more longer and longer because we can't have a dinner without a fish, right? So that wasn't the complete story. So then they looked at it. They found all of these guys are working till the last day of life. They don't retire. And they call it ikigai, which is basically they're saying they're working for a cause. They're working for a relationship, working for something. Every day they get up in the morning, they have reason to, they're hungry to do something. And they're 90 years old, they're 95 years old. You go to the market, it's just on the 90-year-olds are buying stuff. People who are selling stuff, are running business, they're also 90 years old. Okay. So it's interesting, what the well-being study and literature has come up, because the rest of the stuff is coming up is very, very noisy in the sense everybody seems to be stressed. Whether you're doing well, whether you're having a great job, whether you're doing a good school, everybody is looking stressed about, they say, well, everything's going okay, but I mean, the newest one is that if the younger generation, they're asking them, I asked my kids, is everything okay? I said, what happened? It's not making salary. I want salary? No, salary is okay. I said, what is the boss is not treating you? That is fine. I said, what is it? He said, we are not making any impact. And he just graduated, by the way. I said, what do you expect to make impact right now? Because we have been told that everything can be done in a very short term, right? That we need to be patient and we need to work on any innovation takes time, any impact takes time, but that's what the thing has been going wrong. So now let's look at McKinsey's survey about innovation. So given this background, I'm going to come back to it, and you will see why I'm talking about wellness and well-being and the human factor, because this is a survey by McKinsey for all 600 CEOs on the same topic that we are talking about. And they're saying, well, innovation, as obviously we knew this, that they're in the top 3 concerns, or top 3 drivers of growth, particularly in today's world. You need to innovate because otherwise you can't compete, you cannot grow. But second thing is interesting, 65% of executives are not confident about stimulating innovation. So they're being frank, they're being honest that we know innovation is important, creativity leading to innovation is important, but 65, that's 2/3 of the population of CEOs saying, we really don't know what's going to happen. We haven't figured it out yet. And then after all of the literature survey and everything you do, they're basically saying it's not just technology, it's like people and the corporate culture is the most important driver for innovation. It's the other way around. It's not because I've got a technology and therefore I will be able to innovate, you know. You think about it. Apple, right? We consider one of the most innovative companies in the world. What does Apple manufacture? They've just started with some tablets. Before that, it was all Foxconn. They're the one who manufactured everything. So we can outsource the manufacture. Who does the R&D? If the iPhone has these 80 parts, I don't know how many parts it has, the screen is made by somebody else. Samsung. Chips are done by Samsung. The biggest client of Samsung chips is Apple. So don't tell me Apple is innovating those. This innovation are happening all over the world because innovation today is a distributive model. It's gone are the days when IBM or Xerox Lab, we invent everything, the final product comes out with all my technology innovation. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen ever. And going forward will be even more trickier because even your own creative guys are not sitting in the office, right? So we have to be careful, but bottom line is coming down to it's not the structure and the process. It's the human aspect of it, which is driving the innovation. So what are they recommending? Put into the system, so that the people are involved there. So we are talking formally integrate innovation in the strategic. A lot of companies talk about innovation, but is it in their strategic priorities? Are they talking about every time talking about growth? Are they talking about every time they're talking about hiring a talent? Are they talking about every time they're going into a new market? Is it in the same place as the other strategic priorities? Are they discussing that? Second, network. It's becoming more and more. Individual can be very, very creative, but the most powerful force is putting them in a single network or multiple networks. So how do you build that particular network within your organization? And I'm sure there'll be a lot of papers that will be talking about that. And then the culture. Foster the culture of innovation because if you want to be innovative, you should be prepared to fail. I have not seen any company which has not failed miserably in a lot of different projects before their success. But that needs a culture. If you don't build that culture in the organization, it's okay to fail. And you're not going to be penalized. Take the risk, okay? Whatever the matters are, right? I launched 15 programs, 3 of them failed. We think about it, that this is right for the student, they'll be out there, some students will be coming to pick up that, when you offer them in the market, doesn't happen. So you should be prepared to fail. So that becomes a trust factor. So innovation is a distribution model, and now they're saying, if it's all about culture, it's all about the other side, not the system and structure, I rest my case that leadership is the most important predictor of innovation. And this is not my conclusion. I'm just articulating what increasingly this is getting a belief in the market. That for innovation, for creativity, to nurture the creativity for innovation, you need a leadership, which will do a lot of the stuff we talked about before in the previous slide, but a lot more. Now, we all know there is no single model of leadership. We all know that. Different leaders in different countries, in different cultures, in different. I mean, think about SMEs, think about public sector unit, think about private corporations. They all have different cultures. So you might say that we don't have a single leadership style. The different leadership works in different places. Agreed? Might be. But there need to be some common basic denominator which kind of leadership will work for innovation, given that what we have talked about. So that comes to this point. We are saying that we need somebody which is courageous, because you'll have to risk your failure when you're asking your stakeholders that take the risk, be creative, try to innovate, but if you fail, I'll back you up. That's what I'm telling you. The buck stops here. To do that, you got to have a lot of courage. Okay. Second, they need to be principle based. It cannot be doing that I don't have a basic principle that guides my work, guides my life, and guides my leadership. And we're talking about few things here. Why? Because it has to be sustainability. Because if you want to address those major concerns in the world about growth with sustainable future, you better believe in that, right? Second, we talked about accountability. Why? Because you cannot have trust without accountability. You got to have accountability and transparency. Then only you get the trust. And then you can take the risk. Then you can ask the other shareholders, other stakeholders to take the risk. And we can go back, obviously social well-being will come into play, because at the end of it, you're believing you're not there to just run the corporation here. You're being a part of the society. You have a connection to the society, you have the connection to the people, and that's what is going to help everyone. They have come up with a name with that, which is anybody who is guided by a principle, they will have a value-based leadership, because that will be the common set of values that you believe, and you make the stakeholders believe, so that if you are aligned, I think the chances of success is much higher. And you see that again, one organization after another organization. But can we stop there? The recent literature, recent studies are also saying, you think about it, if you want to be a courageous leader, to be an innovative leader, to encourage innovation, to get everybody's buy-in, you need to have a principle. It's a tall order. It's a tall order. It's much easier said that I'll be that kind of a human being. Extremely, extremely difficult. And that's where the leadership is struggling. We all know all of that. But how do we become that kind of a leader? Because as a CEO, I'm pressured under the short-term results, my quarterly profits. I want my underbelt, this is to happen. And you want me to take all this courageous and become and get the buy-in on everybody. Now they're talking about next step, which is only that kind of leader can deliver all of that, is what we call mindfulness, mindful leader. I'm not going to spend details about it. You can spend hours and hours on this mindfulness. But essentially, it started not in the leadership, but it started because we are finding average human beings in the society today, whether it's a customer, whether it's a service provider, are really, really struggling. Whether they make happiness has no correlation after a certain amount of money. So everybody knows that. So what we find is that in simple world, what they're saying, just try to be at the present. Be always at the present, because half the time, and it's not a criticism of you or me, we all in this game together, half the time human beings are thinking about the past, which is already done, you can't change it, or worried about the future, which is not existent. It hasn't really happened. And we are sitting here not presenting. We are not thinking the job, we're not thinking about what we are listening, what we are doing, what we are focusing on today. Now this has got a tremendous implication, because that kind of leader, if he doesn't really focus on the presence, will not have the buy-in from the others. And if you don't get the others, as is written there, if you don't get the buy-in, it prevents you to slipping into that other mode, which is compromise mode. Okay. But this is my last two slides. I've probably taken a little bit much longer than what you anticipated. This so-called mindfulness that everybody is talking about I see the leadership. I talk to a lot of senior leadership across different countries and components. They're all talking about they're talking about meditation. They're going to yoga retreat and everything. My point is, this is an Indian heritage. Whether you grew up here, I mean, I grew up here, whether I think about what I was to hear from my Bengali mother, or you're talking about, Buddhist monk, whether you're talking about, any other religions that we have sort of heard and grown up in over here, they all talk about focus on something. They all talked about don't do anything just for the money. They all talked about pay attention to your neighbors, connectedness with the society. They think about life in a holistic way. All of these guys are talking about this in leadership literature, but this is in the tradition of the Indian heritage. So, I'll be honest with you, they're talking about it, not many schools have started doing it. And I think it's a tremendous disservice we will do, you meaning us, faculty, administrators, students, not to think about this carefully. Because we need to really think about what's the purpose, what are we doing this for, and what do you want to get out of it? Okay, is it just me? No. If you were just about you would have been the biggest, happiest person staying alone, staying lonely. None of us enjoy that. So none of us things we do in our life are our own. Contrary to the popular belief, we may not be that selfish actually. But somewhere down the road, we need to kind of think about it and keep on reminding ourselves that we won't need the world to grow, world to flourish, to be innovative, all of that. But it cannot happen in a vacuum unless there's a leadership and the people doing it. And that's trying to think about in a right. And we can't say that we will wait till we become the Harvards of the world and then we'll do it, because some of these things are coming out from Harvard. I don't think the Harvard students are suddenly changing when they come to the MBA for at 32 years old. But we are talking about it. So we really need to think about, and I think given our heritage, given our thing here, I'll really say I really hope this school and other business schools to be the leader in nurturing and producing courageous, value-based, mindful leaders that will really challenge and find their ikigai. I think it's not an easy bar, but I think we are all capable of that. We should start thinking about it. That will really, really lead to tremendous innovation, which will also make sure the rest of the world, everybody gets the gains from that innovation, and at the end of the day, that we all have a sense of well-being, which is, by the way, at the end of it, we all want that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your motivating and kind words, sir. I'm pretty sure that everybody must taken a note from this and implement it later in spirit.
Now, I would like to invite our Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Deepankar Bhattacharya, to address the audience. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I thank our School of Business and Economics for organizing such an event. It's really nice. I thank Professor Nilanjan Sen for his nice words. It's really enlightening. I thank our Vice Chancellor sir also for his comments. It was really good. Uh, Today, I just want to say a few words about sustainability because that is the theme of this conference. Now, when we talk about sustainability, we always mention these SDG goals. It always comes to our mind those 16 SDG goals, and 17 is for collaboration. But through these SDG goals or sustainability goals, are we really heading towards sustainability? Shall we be able to reach our targets by 2030? The process we are actually following through these 16 SDG goals, if we think of, they're all creating different areas of focus. So when we are trying to work on SDG 1, for example, that is for zero poverty or zero hunger, SDG 2. When we are focusing on that, how to address that? We are thinking of agriculture, we are thinking of industry, we are thinking of innovations, we are addressing different areas. Now, when we are addressing innovations, we are addressing industry, at the same time, we are addressing environmental pollutions. So that way, we are actually creating a problem to address our SDG 14, 15 in those areas, life below water, underwater, or life on the earth. So we are creating all sorts of problems. So today, actually, the topic that we decided here is going to be really important here because what today people are feeling that SDG 8, which is decent work and economic growth, and SDG 12, which is responsible production and consumption, these two are the key for sustainable development. So if we are able to address decent, or we can ensure decent work and economic growth for everyone, and we plan the amount of production we really need and the amount of consumption we really need, then we are able to address all the SDG goals. So these two should be the focus areas. Now, how we can ensure this? We can ensure this through innovation. So today's topic of this conference is becoming absolutely relevant because we are addressing innovation, and through innovation, we are going to create an atmosphere of decent work and economic growth, and we will also plan responsible production and consumption. Then only we will be able to reach our sustainability target by 2030, and that's how we have to progress. So in today's in this conference, I hope we will discuss about a lot of innovations that will help us in these two areas, and these two areas will finally govern in terms of planet, that is SDG 14, 15 in those areas. It may be in the form of outcome, like good education, well-being, these are areas it will touch. So finally, just focusing on innovation and creativity, we will be able to address a sustainable future for all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us on this topic. Among all the seniors, we, as a student also, will definitely benefit from it in coming future.
Now, I would like to invite our guest of distinction, Jhareshwar Maiti sir, Head, Department of Industrial and System Engineering. Professor and Head, Industrial and System Engineering and Chairman, COE, in Safety Engineering and Analytics, IIT Kharagpur, and has over 20 years of teaching and research experience. He has been awarded with Suresh and Vidyanyal Chair Professor. Along with that, PC Mahalanobis Distinguished Educator. I will just request our sir to continue with with his speech and enlighten us with his knowledge. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sharing my screen first, then I will start. Okay. Is my screen visible? Is my screen visible? Hello?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, okay, fine.
Thank you, sir.
So, okay, very good morning. First of all, I am honored to be here and I am thankful to Professor Dr. Somit Ray, Professor Dr. Navin Das and Professor Dr. Shantanu Roy. When Professor Shantanu Roy, basically he is my senior and he is my Shantanuda. When he telephoned me and requested me to speak on this occasion in the international conference on that is creativity, innovation, growth, and sustainability. I was a little bit hesitant to accept this because this is one area where perhaps I have not done much or I have not done anything out of it. But I have done something on safety, risk, reliability, quality, resiliency, and more on data analytics. And then obviously application to safety, quality, risk, reliability, resiliency in this area, not that much in the business analytics area. But considering the audience, I'm sure that the audience will be more from business analytics side. So I have taken a topic called deep learning in business analytics. I relied upon my own experience in the data analytics and the whatever development taken place in the deep learning area. But I'm trying to add on the business analytics application. But again, I'm telling you, I'm not a person of hardcore business analytics, but I'm from the other side. So if you talk about innovation, then finally, actually, deep learning is really an innovation from in the machine learning domain, particularly from doing data analytics of different kinds, which will ultimately help in predicting and prescribing the solutions. And that sense, it's really innovation and innovative technology in the domain of your supervised or unsupervised learning and in that area. So why I have chosen this one, the primary reason is this is one of the latest topic in this particular domain, whether you want to use it in sustainability, use it in business sustainability or environmental sustainability or social sustainability, economic sustainability, you will find out that you have to have data and you have to have model and you have to understand what is affecting sustainability and growth, and then you have to accordingly take actions. So all are encompassed in analytics, particular that analytics domain. And I'll try to give some of those things, but please bear with me because I am meant from safety, quality, reliability, resilience, and analytics. So if you want to understand that how this deep learning will be used in this business analytics area, so we need to understand obviously the business functionalities, and it is one area where there will be more speakers. Definitely, we will be talking about it, and there are business risks of different kinds, and ultimately one of, if you want to make your business sustainable, obviously understanding the risk and applying analytics to understand the causes of such risk occurring, and finally taking prescriptive measures so that the risk will be well under control. So that is the first part, which is basically talk about the domain part. So I am expecting that the audience, the learned participants, you will be first learning the functional aspects of business, and then you will go for data, and then you will go for analytics, and then you, after the analytics, whatever insights you gain based on this, you take the decisions. So in the outer periphery, or there on circle like structure is there, you can understand this is basically talking that the latest technology in this area, starting from AI and machine learning, cloud, cyber security, big data, Internet of Things, additive manufacturing, autonomous robot, risk assessment, simulation, virtual reality, augmented reality. These are all developed over the years and contributing to this domain of data analytics from the technology point of view and techniques point of view. Technology means from the data capturing point of view and a computation point of view, and techniques basically from understanding, analyzing the data and how to get the useful rate out of the data so that you can do something meaningful. So I will be discussing primarily on that business analytics little bit, and then I will give you some of the models of deep learning. And I will definitely tell you that why deep learning is important and how deep learning takes the center stage way, and what are the reasons behind it. I'm sure that you all have heard the three concepts, or I can say three different purposes in any analytics. In business analytics, obviously, it is also applicable. One is descriptive analytics, another one is predictive analytics, and then prescriptive analytics. Now, what is descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive? I'm sure that you are aware of this. If you are not aware of this, so let me tell you a little bit of descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics point of view. Usually, when you are thinking of your any business process or any system performance, if you look at it carefully, you will find out that you have many things already happened, and if you analyze those things, what already happened, and then what is happening at present, means you are basically trying to explore that some kind of status report, then this is nothing but descriptive analytics. Now, with this status or with the conditions, what is prevailing at your system or the process, then what you do, you may take certain actions, may not take action, you may maintain the status quo. So ultimately, what will happen if you continue the state what of the system as it is, something also going to happen, and that is naturally what already happened. The same thing will repeat. It is something like this. If you do not do anything, you got what you already got. That kind of situation. But if you do something, then what will happen? Something better could happen depending on the actions what you are doing. So considering these conditions, suppose you want to develop some model and you want to understand what is going to happen in the future, that may be in the near future or in the long future, then obviously that is coming under predictive analytics. Now, under predictive analytics, two kinds of analytics are very important. One is basically classification task. Another one is your prediction task. Classification means, for example, you just think of banking system. Suppose you are going to give loan to somebody, and then you have the customers database. From the customers data, you can develop a classification model in order to understand that what is the probability that, that this kind of customer, based on his individual information, his the demography, his income, and other related things. So what will happen? You will be able to understand whether he will be paying the loan on time, or he will take some. He will be defaulter, and if it is defaulter, what is the amount of time he is going to be defaulter? So that kind of situation, you will place that particular customers, that whether loan to be given or not to be given. That kind of classification you can do. On the other hand, if you go by the regression kind of thing or prediction kind of thing, you may be interested to know, okay, given the background information, the bank manager, he may be interested to know what is the probability of repaying the loan. So that means you are not classifying whether he will be defaulter or he will be basically regular. Here you are saying what is the probability he will be giving. That means you are actually predicting certain value in the probability domain. So that is your regression kind of thing, or rather I can say prediction kind of model are there. And then your prescription means basically depending on the situation, what decision you will make. So are you going to take the decision that yes, I'm going to give the loan to the customer, to that customer, or no, I will just verify further, or I will not simply say no, loan is because based on the background information, loan is not not to be given. So this kind of decision coming under prescriptive analytics. So if you see this slide, then you see that there are a lot of questions are already written. Means we are answering certain questions under descriptive analytics. Means what happened and what is happening. That will come under description. Then prediction means what will happen and why will it happen. And prescription means what should I do and why should I do it. And then you will find out that in the next layer, in the left hand side, just the bottom, the middle portion in the slide, the enablers are given. These enablers are nothing but it will tell you that basically whether if you are doing descriptive analytics, what are the things in the first place, that business reporting, dashboard, scoreboard, data warehousing, these are you are doing basically. This will help you in doing descriptive analytics. Similarly, for predictive analytics, there are a lot of tools. They are under data mining, text mining, web mining, machine learning. And under prescriptive analytics, basically it is more or less decision making or decision modeling, where optimization and simulation takes the central role. So each of these are basically very, very technical and mathematical oriented, and each has its own language, and understanding of all those things are very challenging as well as very, very, I can say, what I can say, it will give you a lot of benefits, like what Davenport says when he first prescribed this data analytics. He said that competing with analytics, the science of winning. So yes, now we have to have that kind of situation if we want to make our business sustainable. Not necessarily only business from the profit and sales point of view, but from the production point of view, from the environmental sustainability, another point of view also, you should have some data, and the data from all the three perspectives, the data should be captured, and how data to be captured, what data to be captured. These are again very, very important and a different ball game altogether. And each one is extremely important in today's context, whether you are in engineering or whether in science, and whether you are in arts, or whether you are a manager or engineer, or you are basically you have to have this kind of data and database data related information, and based on the good information take the decision. So and then outcomes last also I have mentioned, so you can read it. And the right hand side, what I have given, this is nothing but in order of value proposition and in the order of computational sophistication. Why I am right hand side figure, if you say left hand side figure, okay, that is the description of business analytics perspectives. What are you going to do? Right hand side, what we are basically trying to tell you, yes, when you move along the ladder from the descriptive analytics to prescriptive analytics, ultimately your computational complexity increases. So sophistication in the computation is needed, and that cost of computation will be I can say trade off with the value proposition, means how much insights you are going to get. So depending on the purpose of the business, you have to decide on where are you. Means if you do not have enough right kind of data, you cannot do predictive analytics. At that point in time, just jumping on the predictive analytics will not work. When you have to have the environment already, data enabled organization or the enterprise should be delta on enterprise. So if you ask me what is delta, so that is basically, first is delta means DELTA. D means data, E means enterprise, L means leadership, T means technology, and A means analyst. So if your organization have data, your organizations have data, or your organizations have the enterprises is data enabled, there is appropriate proper leadership, and you have used that appropriate technology, and you have competency in analysis, means you have hired or you have trained your people to become analysts. So this much that means investment is needed. Then only you will be having right kind of data, and you will be able to do right kind of analytics, and a lot of benefits you will get. So this is in nutshell what you need to do just to go about analytics in the business domain. It is applicable